Hey guys, Khalid from Cricket Fanatics magazine here, and today I'm bringing you a Proteas legend, and you guys have all asked for it, and I've contacted him, and he was keen to come on board. So, how are you doing, Lance? And how's lockdown been?
Yeah, hello everyone. It's been okay. Just try to keep busy as much as possible, and obviously, yeah, travel quite a bit. So, just use the time to, I guess, sit on your own couch and watch your own TV and sleep in your own bed. Been quite busy up until now. So, yeah, doing a bit of woodwork and
Hmm.
cleaning up some fishing stuff and making sure that yeah, when we do get let out, everything's in good condition.
So, what have you been working on with regards to woodwork, etc.?
I just use some recycled pallets to make furniture, boxes, chairs, tables, whatever. So
Awesome.
managed to get a reasonable stock before lockdown. So yeah, keeping busy there. Yeah, and then I guess just the usual, same as everybody else. Housework.
So, with regards to lockdown, especially coming from a cricketer's perspective or coach's perspective, what sort of tips could you give to youngsters that are stuck at home now, especially young cricketers, how to keep their skills sharp, etc.?
Yeah, look, I mean, skills is one thing, but I think the mental part of things, making sure that you're mentally sharp when things kick off. I mean, there's always time to hit balls and work on technique, but quite often you forget the mental part. How you're going to go about an innings. How are you going to, how do you get yourself to 10? How do you get yourself in? Or, from a bowling point of view, how do you structure an over? What is your mix of slow balls? How do you read batsmen? Things like that, rather than too much technical stuff. I found that's probably the best way is to just give your game some thought rather than actual, hitting balls and getting
Yeah.
out there and doing.
Yeah. So because I posed this question before, is the mental aspect of the game coachable? If it is, how do you
Yeah,
coach a youngster? Yeah, how do you coach a youngster into getting into the right frame of mind?
well, I think it's just about breaking things down. We all want to go out every innings and score 100, but it doesn't happen like that. Or we want to score 50, but how do you get there? Those are the questions that I guess as a coach you need to ask your players or your opening batters or whatever that
Mm,
is to how are you getting yourself in? T20 cricket. Yes, you want to score at a good rate, but you still need to give yourself the opportunity to get in. And
mm,
how are you going about that? And maybe there's a better way that we can do that.
yeah.
Or, from a bowler's point of view, um, how are you going about bowling in the power play? Are you bowling to the right fields?
Mm,
You know, are you using variations? Are you using too many variations? Those are the kind of questions that I suppose you can ask yourself or ask somebody or bounce those questions off somebody to make sure that your thinking and your planning is ready for when you can get outside and do skills.
yeah. So that's perfect because actually a lot of people would maybe agree with me when I say that you would have been perfect the way you played cricket in the T20 game in this modern era. So I wanted to ask you with regards to your career, how you started and how you built and basically structured your approach and molded your approach into the way you bat and the way you played.
Yeah, look, I think that, as we touched on earlier, I think the first one is just volume, just hitting balls. I'm going to talk from a batting point of view, just hitting enough balls so that when you do go out of the middle, you are confident that, if
Hmm.
the ball does land in a specific area, you can hit it for six or four or deal with it. So that's the one thing. And then the other part is reading the game. When do I go? When do I need to when do I need to press on? Is there a bowler maybe that's having a bad day that I can maybe be a little bit patient with and wait for him to
Hmm.
come back? Um, you know, from my point of view, was there a left arm spinner that still needed to bowl, in those death overs, and
Yeah.
instead of going after the wrong bowler, just be aware that they're going to have to bowl him at some stage, and if I'm at the crease, I can take advantage of that. so that for me is the other part, is learning how to read the game and when to press on, and when maybe to take a little bit of punishment, and the rate might grow a little bit, but knowing full well that if I'm still here with 3 overs to go, I can catch up.
Yeah, because now these days for children, we have programs like mini cricket to them to get used to the game and get exposed to the game. For you, when you were a kid, how did you get into cricket? Was it more just by chance, or how was it exactly?
Yeah, look, I mean, you hear it quite often. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a rugby player. I want to be a cricketer, or whatever. That kind of stuff just happens. You can't go to university and study to become a cricket player. That kind of just happened. And for me, exactly the same. Had a but yeah, just had that fire inside. I always say the real challenge, or the real decider of are you going to make it or not, always happens after school, when you the only person out there that can actually drive that fire inside you. So yeah, I think for me personally, I just grew up on a farm, and I had a couple of farm workers' children that we just everybody used to get a chance to bat and bowl. Some batted longer than others, and some bowled others longer than others, but that's how I learned. Dad just made a concrete pitch in the garden, and played for hours until we lost the ball, and had to go and find it and come back tomorrow. But yeah, I never played any. Obviously in primary school we all played a little bit, but not bakers or. But at the end of the day, it's what's inside, and how hard you're willing to drive it.
Yeah, because I mean, when it comes to that, were you more drawn to bowling first or batting first? What was the first one you were drawn to?
I think bowling, and batting kind of just happened along the way. But I think bowling got me into teams initially, and I'm talking, after school, heading into provincial cricket. I got a bit stronger. I was in the army for 4 years after school. I got a little bit stronger and a little bit wiser there. Managed to play a little bit during the army years. But yeah, I think coming out of that, a lot stronger and able to bowl quite a bit faster. And then batting, just the talent was always there, but yeah, it just takes, for me, it took a lot more hard work than the bowling did.
Yeah. So can you maybe just give me a brief overview of some of your domestic cricket highlights for you when you started playing domestic cricket, etc.? Some of the players that you enjoyed playing against, or you had good battles against and battles with.
Yeah, I think Malcolm Marshall was somebody that I was lucky to have the privilege of playing with and learning how to bowl from. Yeah, that was for me a huge learning curve. The likes of Clive Rice, Peter Rawson, who played for Natal back in those days. Wise old heads. I'll throw in Pat Simcox there as well. That just brought. Those guys brought a lot of hardness. They brought a lot of discipline, and I guess learning under those kind of conditions was good for me. And then, as I said, batting just kind of happened because we were all expected. We used to play on green wickets and Kingsmead in those days, and we were all expected to contribute. Scores were pretty small, so even if you got 9 or 10 as a number 11 batsman, quite often games came down to that. Certainly in 4-day cricket as well. So that was good for us. But yeah, wonderful battles. Had the privilege of playing against and Haynes, who was, also around about that time in Western Province. H.D. Ackerman was another one. We had some running. But always up for a challenge. I guess you need to be as a fast bowler, up for a challenge, and up for a fight.
Yeah, because when you look at this comes into your coaching as well. Because with guys, I'm very fond of of seeing your raw talent and how it emerges and how it becomes what they become. So you would have seen a lot of the youngsters like Jacques Callis, etc., them coming to the sides and then see them from a young age grow into what they've become. So what stood out to you with regards to that, playing with them at young ages or seeing them in action at a young age, and what made them who they are today, would you say?
Um, I think I touched on it earlier. Is that fire inside? Polly was the same. Yeah, he came through the ranks and the age groups um, and all that. But at the end of the day, it was the fire inside to be the best bowler in the world. And to he learned loads from a guy like Malcolm Marshall, who was our captain when we were still making it into the Natal side back then.
Yeah,
But Jacques as well. His mental game just took his whole game to a different level. But yeah, sure, he was always talented, but it's just that drive, just to be out there and be up for a fight. Cricket.
yeah.
It is about fighting yourself and being up for a challenge against the opposition.
Cool. So let's get into some of the questions because I see there's a lot that's coming in right now. A lot of people are very excited that you're on the platform, etc. Here's a cool one that we got in from Ravi Reddy. He said, you were one of the greatest ODI players to ever play for the Proteas. Did you feel that T20 cricket was missed opportunity for you, especially playing in the IPL?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I would have loved to have played in the ICL, which was then the Indian Cricket League before the IPL. Took off and duly got banned for playing in that competition, and ended up dismissing it by a year or two. The start of the IPL, but absolutely, it would have been marvelous. But at the same time, taking advantage of coaching opportunities that IPL has given as well. Spent 3 years with Mumbai Indians,
Mm.
and yeah, I think just from a coaching aspect, grown a lot from getting involved there. So yeah, missed the playing, but need to take advantage of what else is out there. And for me, it's coaching opportunities.
Yeah, from that perspective, being in the IPL, etc., and being in India, can you maybe give to people that don't really know the difference in the conditions and how you approach it, etc., when you're there compared to the wickets in South Africa?
Um, there used to be quite a big difference a while ago, but I think Indian cricket has they've made a big thing about playing on good wickets because they want to compete overseas as well, which they're
Yeah.
doing, which is working for them. So one day wickets and T20 wickets certainly are generally very, very good, and very similar to back home here. There's a big drive for them to play on good wickets, and you see the scores as well over there. There's big scores, outfields are fast. One of those places where you can pretty much chase anything that's set. So batting second is not a bad thing, especially with better wickets. Don't necessarily deteriorate too
Mm.
much. So just from my experience over there, and I spend a lot of time in Delhi with their Ranji Trophy team as well, the boys are very happy to chase, knowing that the
Yeah.
wickets are good these days. They don't deteriorate and the outfields are fast.
I'm going to come back to a question about that as well because of domestic cricket in South Africa and where that's going. But let's go on to the questions. He has another one for you. He says, tell us about your experience in the 96-97 SA team versus India. You scored a ton against India while partnering with Brian McMillan. What was the team talk leading into your inaugural test time?
Um, I have no idea. I was like a normal player, not paying any attention to what the coach was saying. Um, but we were lucky to have a really, really good team. Some wonderful batters, some informed batters as well. Going into that series. So just hooking up with a hero of mine, Brian McMillan, seeing him through to 100 and eventually getting there myself was a privilege. But we won a high. We were playing against an Indian team back in those days that didn't necessarily travel very well to bouncy surfaces. So we took advantage of that. They had a couple of injuries as well, so always good to take advantage of that in the opposition. but we had a good team. We had a good team,
Yeah.
and yeah, and if you're always scoring runs and the team is managing to put 450, 500 consistently, opposition's always under pressure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we got another one, but this is going back to domestic again. He wants to know what your fondest memory from your franchise cricket playing days was. What was the memory that stood out for you?
Yeah, quite a few. Probably just from a bowling point of view, 8 for 32 against, back in the day, Western Province at Kingsmead, in a rain delayed game. Yeah, we had a lot of rain the evening before, and the game kind of just looked like it was going nowhere. Managed to get 8 for 32 the next morning, and we kind of got over the line. So that was good. And then for me, anytime I can, not necessarily weight of runs, really, anytime I can kind of manufacture a win batting second, even if it's a cheeky, 15 or 5 or 6 balls, just to get the team over the line. That for me really was my drug, batting second and just trying to get the team over the line, whether I needed to get 40 or 10 or 15, didn't really matter.
Yeah, so I haven't, this is talking about franchise cricket now. Like, I have this opinion that there used to be a lot of opportunities at a school level where kids used to play the longer format. Like, there was that 3-day competitions that kids used to play outside school. When I look at 15, 16-year-olds around the world, maybe in India, for example, and maybe in county cricket with the second divisions, they get to play the longer formats much earlier in their time. So I feel like the school kids in South Africa don't get that opportunity maybe to play the longer format to improve obviously the pipeline into the test team and creating younger chances. Yes, we have a lot of youngsters coming through the system, but what would you say we need to do to actually improve the domestic cricket in the country with regards to playing the longer formats of the game?
Yeah, I think unfortunately the focus has changed. Youngsters want to play T20 cricket. They want to reverse sweep, and they want to play the ramp shot and bowl slow ball bounces. But you can only do that with a good platform, with solid defense, being able to hit your line and length as often as possible before you can really get into reverse sweeps and whatever else you see on the highlights packages. And the focus of cricket has changed, and unfortunately schools have picked up on that now they want to play T20 competitions, and it's easy as well. You can play a large number of games, you can get a lot of exposure, but I need to agree that that's where you learn your game, is in the longer version, your 3-day games. Do I see them kind of going back to that, or making space for that? No, I don't. I think it's just something that's going to suffer, I think, in the long run, where schools and domestic competitions are leaning towards T20 cricket. And these days it's about money as well, and money's in T20 cricket.
Yeah,
Youngsters,
of course.
yeah, the youngsters coming through, they're not really interested in playing Test cricket. Yes, it's nice, it's got a great history. It doesn't make you rich, somebody that wants to come through and make a living is, get into T20 cricket. And if Test cricket and 4-day cricket evolves into that, then great. Whereas 15, 20 years ago it was the other way around. Get into 4-day cricket, get into the Test team, and then see what happens in 1-day cricket. It's changed. The world has changed now.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously going to get this question a lot, this next one. It's kind of crazy, but who do you think will be the next Lance Klusener in your in your opinion, from a youngster's perspective, maybe in South African cricket? It's a difficult one to say, but who are some of the all-rounders that you just watched or saw and you were like, wow?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because I always say, instead of trying to be like somebody else, be yourself. Take a little bit from, you know, Lance Klusener, take a bit from Sean Pollock, take a bit from Jacques Callis, and work that into who you are. And you may become an even better cricketer than I was, for example. So, that's what I try and tell my players as well, is that there's not necessarily one recipe that's going to work for you. Take what you think works for a Jacques Callis, and grab something from Ricky Ponting, and maybe from Clive Rice back in the day, and put that all together and be somebody unique. So yeah, when I growing up, for me example, I grabbed stuff from Clive Rice. I spent a lot of time with Clive at the National Academy. Malcolm Marshall, Sean Pollock, people that I played against, the smartness of a guy like Dale Benkenstein, Hansi Cronje, taking a little bits and pieces from them, because there's a whole lot of stuff that doesn't work for me that works for them as well.
Yeah.
And I see it quite often with kids as well. Everybody wants to be A.B. de Villiers, but A.B. de Villiers, yeah, he's a special cricketer, and not everything that he does are you going to be able to do in the first place, and will it work for you? So my advice is, 5 or 6 guys you like, and take bits and pieces from there, and be a unique player, because then I think you've got the opportunity to be even better than all of them.
Yeah. So obviously, one of the people will describe you as one of the best finishers in the game, of course. But someone wants to ask you, who do you think is the best finisher of all time, according to you, from the people that you've witnessed?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think finishing has changed quite a bit. Chris Cairns from New Zealand, he was pretty tidy in the day as well. A guy like MS Dhoni, for me, probably is probably going to be the guy that I go with. Had the privilege of playing with a guy like Michael Bevan as well. Fantastic back in the day, but I think in the modern era, I think MS Dhoni absolutely hands down would take it for me. But there've been some decent ones in the past. A guy like Michael Bevan was amazing, and he batted 4, so he was there throughout. He batted really long, but to do it on a consistent level, I don't think there's anyone that does it like MS does.
MS is amazing. Yeah. So that gives a good question to the next one. Who was the most aggressive, difficult bowler you faced as a batsman?
Yeah, difficult. I suppose in the subcontinent, a guy like Mullalitrin, always tough. Shane Warne, always tough. But for me, the spinners, yes, they could get you out, and they could make you look a little bit useless, but they could never hurt you. And that's what fast bowlers have got. They can make you look useless. They can get you out, but they can also hurt you. So, that fear factor was, for me, is something that always lurks in the back of your mind, especially when the ball's 150 plus Ks, and Wasim Akram, Waka Yunus, Shoaib Akhtar, they're all in one team actually at one stage. So that was a little bit cheeky. Brett Lee as well. Also, very, very good bowlers, and that in the back of your mind, you always had that if they slipped you a beamer or something like that, you'd be in real trouble. And I always say, a good fast bowler's always got a beamer in him somewhere. Akhtar got a beamer in him. Nanti Hayward always had a beamer in him. So a good fast bowler, he's always got a beamer, and then sorry about that afterwards.
So like there was talk about over here in the comments as well about just find the comment now, it's going quite quickly. There's one over here about when you here we go, where you happened to break Laxman's arm. Did you crack a beer with him afterwards, and how was it afterwards after that incident happened?
Yeah, look, I think you used to spend a little bit more time with the opposition back in the day. There wasn't that pressure of too much cricket, which nowadays you don't really. You shake hands on the field, and off you go and off to the next place. But always in good spirits. What happened on the field was never something that kind of got dragged off. I don't like to see that. I like to see a good battle. A good battle in the middle, and whatever's said and whatever's done in the middle stays there. And I think that was important. Nowadays it's almost a little bit too sterile. Where people are not even allowed to get into each other's space. I enjoyed that as a player, and I'm sure people listening out there also enjoy that little bit of niggle between players.
Yeah, of course, yes. And let's go a little bit into a coaching question over here. Someone wants to know how is life as Afghanistan coach, for example.
Yeah, good. I've enjoyed it. Absolute talent.
Mm,
In that team under very very difficult conditions. It's hot in the summer, and there's a meter of snow on the field in the winter. But I've really enjoyed it. Wonderful, wonderful group of guys. Um, got their challenges in terms of what they've brought up with on low, slow turning wickets. Always going to have their problems against fast bowling. And as a coach, I'm trying to address that as much as possible with camps,
mm.
trying to encourage guys to be braver, be stronger, because it's not necessarily in their cricketing nature, because they everything leads towards spin, playing of spin, facing of spin. Youngsters want to bowl spin; they don't want to bowl fast. So, coming out of there and coming out of an extremely tough history as well. What they've achieved is amazing, and you know, for me, they've got the best white ball spin attack in the world, and you know, if our challenge as an Afghanistan team, I guess, is always to score enough runs. Whether we're chasing is to be able to consistently score, over 150. Because if we are scoring, over 150, then we're gonna catch a lot of teams napping.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people were very happy when you took over the Proteas job for a little while, and we all thought, okay, cool, this is the start where you're going to take it over. This Can you give me a little bit of insight into what you feel like as Boucher as a coach, and do you see similarities between the two ways that you guys are with regards to your coaching styles, or what is your philosophy of coaching exactly?
Yeah, look, Bachi's a good friend of mine, and obviously just wish him all the best. He's had a lot of success with the Titans, um, and that's great. So that's a good platform for him to go into that, and he's got respect around the world, and that for me, for a national team coach is is quite important. As much as players walk onto the field and um, suss up the opposition. You always sussing up the coaching staff of the opposition as well. Who's with them? You know, who is helping them. So he's just going to add a lot of weight, a lot of bite, and a lot of muscle to that team. So yeah, obviously thoroughly chuffed for him, and hopefully he's got a lot of work on his plate, but hopefully he can get that right, and we're all here to support him. And even though I'm coaching Afghanistan, we all want to see South Africa win the World Cup.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I'm a South African cricket team supporter as well. So
Yeah.
we're all here to same cause. And just for me, it's important to just suss up what you've got as a team and work within that. It's pointless. I'll just use Afghanistan for example. Wonderful spin attack.
Yeah.
So we'll need to use that to our advantage. It's pointless saying, oh well, we need fast bowlers and we need to play 2-3 fast bowlers, but our strength is spin. So the teams we put on the field might look a little bit different or a little bit out of the box to a lot of traditionalists, where they want to see 3 fast bowlers. We're still trying to achieve something in a different way. So for me, it's just important about working out what you've got, what your strengths are, and growing with that. And then and not changing too much. Players get to um, a higher, high teams and become very, very good players because they're doing a lot of stuff right. So it's small twitches and tweaks, and most of the stuff is at the higher level. I always say the higher you go, the less you actually coach. Your 10-year-olds, you're very hands-on and showing technique and hitting a lot of balls. Where the higher you go, it's more mental. It's more little switches and little chats in someone's ear that actually gets you the results.
Yeah, someone over here asked the question, whenever you meet Alan Donald, do you guys meet up at least once to reminisce about the older days, the playing days, etc.? And you know what he actually wants to know, if you guys speak about that incident at all.
Yeah, look, it doesn't bother us. Well, it doesn't bother me. That's just the game of cricket. You know, we're all trying to win a game of cricket under probably the toughest pressure in sport. You know, and I think for me, I always go back and say it wasn't really Alan's job to be batting out there.
Yeah.
Everybody says, "Oh, it's easy to point fingers at Alan," but your question needs to be asked. Well, where was Daryl Cullinan? Where was Herschel Gibbs? Where was Gary Kirsten and Hunsey, and where were those guys? Where was Sean Pollock and Bouchy and those guys? Where were they when that pressure was on? They'd left work on the table that them as batters didn't do, and it seriously wasn't Alan's job. Yes, he was there, and there was a mix-up, and we can't get away from that. But the point is, it was the batter's job. It wasn't a big score that we needed to get home. We don't ask Herschel Gibbs to bowl Alan Donald's overs. The same. We shouldn't be relying on tail enders to score batsmen's runs. And we did it throughout that whole World Cup, and it caught up to us at the very worst of times. Damn unfortunate. I'd love to be sitting saying, we got home and we did this and we did that, but we didn't. And sport, and we need to deal with it, and we need to move on. And me as a coach, I need to go and add value in other people's lives, in other countries' teams, or whatever it is. So it's not. I don't see Alan a lot. Just because we work in different parts of the world. But it's not really something we'd even chat about. That's one thing in 10 years playing together. So yeah, you got to move on. Yeah, it hurt, of course it did, and it wasn't ideal. But we just, in that whole World Cup, we just didn't score enough runs, and we relied on 9, 10, and 11 way too often, and eventually it catches up, and it did for us.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a question as well, because we've spoken before about some of the players that you've worked with, etc. And you mentioned someone like Andile Peglikwayo, for example, who is like an all-rounder in our side, etc. Can you just maybe give us links in with this question and what you think about him as a player and as a youngster when you worked with him, etc. And now in what direction he's going?
Yeah, I got a long history with Andile. I mean, took him out of Glenwood at the age of 16. Had to sit with his mom and convince her that we needed to take him to India on a Champions Tour outing for us. So yeah, go back a long way with Andile. He's a special talent. Has he had all the coaching he should have? Maybe not. In his young career. But yeah, I took him out of school and had 4 great years with him at the Dolphins, and just really chuffed for him. He's tough as nails. His batting needs a little bit of work, and he's another one of those guys. And I've told him as well, is that he just needs to be himself. You're not Pollard. You're not Andre Russell, and you're not AB de Villiers. You're Andile Peglikwayo from the south coast of KZN, and take a little bit from everybody and be your own guy, because I think he will do that, and we're starting to see that in him now, where he's starting to man up and starting to take responsibility, and he's a phenomenal talent, and I just love to watch him. He's always got something happening when he's bowling, a bit like me. He's either taking wickets or going for boundaries. And then can hit it a mile as well. So yeah, special place in my heart, Andile. As I said, I sat with his mom and tried to convince her that he needed to come with us to India many years ago.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lance. So I just wanted to end off with just give the fans some insight into what you're doing now in lockdown, some fun things that you're doing, what you've been watching on TV, certain movies, etc., or series.
I watch TV, and if anything, maybe a little bit of discovery or something like that. As I said earlier, a bit of woodwork with pallets and stuff like that, and making some boxes and some tables and some chairs and whatever else I can find on Pinterest. Making sure that our fishing equipment is serviceable again, when we get out of this and we can go back to the beaches. My dad is very ill, so I've been trying to get out and see him as well, as much as possible, as much as circumstances allow. So I haven't been too locked down. I've been able to just get out a little bit and see him, because as I said, he's battling along. Just appeal to everybody just to just to be safe out there, and keep it tidy, and just really just backing what the president is doing. I think it's the right thing. It is tough. It's a tough bullet to take, but I think it's the right thing at this time of the virus.
Thank you very much, Lance. This was an amazing conversation. I learned a lot about you. Thanks to the fans for coming on and tuning in and asking all your questions. I will be putting this on our website after this is done, so you can share it with everybody and can go back and watch it. So thanks a lot, Lance, and I hope everything's remains safe and your family is safe and healthy. Your father gets better, and that you stay safe in lockdown.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
No problem. See you.